It is 6:18 and I will begin the meeting. The one and only item on the agenda is a discussion and vote regarding the interim co-director salary. So to introduce the topic, I would like to give the floor to Hope and Debbie.
I don't know how much you would like us to share as far as what we know or believe or feel or whatever. When we had a couple of meetings ago talked about looking for interim director, and you guys had participants. It was between actually Hope and Joe Almquist at the time. I myself personally had entertained the idea probably earlier in the day because of someone mentioning it to me. I didn't know, in fact, that it was going to go down where actually me doing it. I did want to do it. I knew what it was like to work with Joe. I knew I couldn't work for him. If that would have gone down like that, I would have left. Hope I believe in, and I'm willing to invest my time and energies in. I think she's someone that would be around for a long time, and she cares. She's actually establishing roots in our town. So even though I hadn't planned on doing it, I said I would do it with her. I know Elena had brought up a question as far as, she wasn't thrilled about two people doing it. She'd rather see one do it. And to be honest, we've been doing this now for a couple of months. There is no way that one person could have done it, especially not to the degree that we're doing it. The library, I'm really sad to say, because I love this place and I've been here a long time. I can't believe what a mess it's in. And it goes back to a couple of directors. It goes back to a couple of boards. I'm even wondering how things got passed by the finance in the town. To me, things when looking at figures, it's very black and white. I just feel that, and this is personal, but a lot of people weren't doing their jobs. And what Hope and I have been doing is resolving things and finding out things from the past while taking care of things that come up in the present on a day-to-day basis. And with that knowledge, thinking about the future and what it looks like and how we can save money moving forward. It's actually been not easy, but it's been a joy. I really haven't minded. Not that I like looking for mistakes or finding them or solving problems, but again, this goes back to, my kids. I've been here in Wilmington for going on 33 years now. My kids, the library was a very big and important part. It's funny, just this past week, Kathy was saying that she remembers when Robbie asked me to work for the library. I was asked twice, and I never came looking for a job here at the library, but it was something that, because I love the library very much, I did it. And it was never really about the money. Had it been about the money, I had to have many jobs while working here at the library to make ends meet. It was never about the money. So when it came time for whether two people were going to do this or one person was going to do it, me making only 12 and Hope then taking on the $22.50 was okay. But on that note, with the $12, and I do have documentation, I was promised, but so much for promises with Clee, that come the new year I was going to be making $18.50. The least I would make was $16, but that's what he had put in for. So I wasn't thinking at the time or feeling that, I felt good because I was going to be getting more money, so I thought. Then when the new year started, I wasn't. I made that commitment, and to Hope too that we would do it together. So I will still continue to do it if you don't approve of the idea we have in mind. But I just wanted to give you a little bit of background as far as where my heart and head is. And so in a very awkward and uncomfortable position because we would share and talk, and she was quite uncomfortable that she was making so much more than me coming in the door, and it's what she should be making. versus what I was making, since I did have all the time that over the last going on 14 years. So what we ended up coming up with, so that we would both feel like we had some worth, and this is because, you know, you guys weren't offering any suggestions and there were no stipends that were going to be given or whatever, and it's been a couple months. So we thought, what would you guys think if we were to take her $22.50 and my $12, put it together, which makes it $34.50, divided by 2, which would give us each equal amounts for equal jobs of $17.25. So that's pretty much what we're asking. But I want you to know that, you know, for what we're doing and for anybody else doing this, plus for having to do all the work that people didn't do, and I know we don't have the money, although we are finding money, that we should most definitely be getting more than $17.25. But we're willing to do that until we continue and figure out, you know, what kind of money is available. It's weird because we have found so much money spent so foolishly that I feel that we would be rolling in the dough if it was only handled correctly and properly. I do think there's money there for all of us, everybody on the staff, to make more than what we're going to be making as far as the beginning of September 1st. And with everything in me, there are certain people like Kathy who most definitely should be making more than minimum wage for all the years and what she does around here. She actually is the only one through the bookshop that makes money for the library. So again, those are thoughts and feelings, and they're not just opinions, it's actual facts, you know, kind of a thing. So, and I don't know what you guys are going to do for the future. I know right now with Hope and I, we're putting in, you know, I'm down to 36 hours. She's putting in 35. I can promise you that we are working for many, many, many more hours for that than that. And we are working literally for pennies. I don't know what the future is going to bring as far as if you guys are going to continue with co-directors or if you're going to do a director and assistant, or maybe just have a director. I don't know. But I do know that right now it is a 2-person job. And I think we're doing an excellent job. And even with doing, we're learning a lot. So that's kind of my, I don't know, proposal, as you would say, or my thoughts and feelings on it. I'm sure Hope has something she could say too. Maybe, I don't know, do you?
I mean, yeah, it doesn't feel too great to take a pay cut, but I do feel like it's fair. We're doing the same job. My only concerns is I do have contracts that say higher things of pay, and going forward, if I was to get the pay cut and we do make the same, I would just want to make sure that something was in writing and states like it wasn't anything to do with my work ethic that made it go down. Because, you know, I just got my bachelor's degree. If I don't end up staying here, I wouldn't want that on my record to show to another employer. So that's the only, I mean, I'm willing to take the cut. I'm willing to put in the work, but I would just have that stipulation because I just don't want it to look bad for future employment.
Oh, and I have one other thing to say. Just one of the things that I think was crazy in doing, and that, you know, we find the money when we want to find the money. We had, back when Chrissy had left, and even a few months after Clee was here, had hired through an temp agency for someone to come in. We paid them $37 and change an hour. Now, she was here for 7 months. And out of 3 months, I know that we had paid $15,299. So if that was for 3 months, and you can imagine add another 4 months to that, that is not any money I'll ever see in this lifetime, or anybody else that has ever worked here, probably not even the director either. So I'm not saying to go rob the bank, but I think that, you know, things like that need to be perhaps considered, or at least you guys should know that. We're not looking to rob anybody, and we definitely are out to make money for our library. My worst thought is that we would have to cut people, or we would have to be closed and be open less days, or once upon a time in the beginning, after the first 2-3 years of opening, we did have to close, and we were closed. We couldn't be open as many hours as when we started. And I don't know what the reason is. I tried to find out from the beginning, the first directors, but they're pretty sure it probably was about, you know, money, trying to save it and whatnot. So I don't want the library to hurt. I've been working and trying to figure it out so that we can make more money per hour, all of us, and yet not spend more money. But you guys got to be aware too that we're going to be okay for this September and this year. I have no doubt about it because I've done the figures, and that's something we can share together. But we still have to get up in a few years to $15 an hour. So at some point, the town's going to just have to, you know, say we're worth it, because they're going to be forced to be told that, you know, we get that kind of money. Otherwise, from what I understand, you can be penalized for every day that you're not paying what you're supposed to as far as minimum wage. So it's something that I remember in years past, the other boards were supposed to work on in little increments so that it wouldn't hurt so much when the time came, but that hasn't been the case. And the time is going to be coming that, again, looking forward as we're trying to figure out monies, what it's really going to look like, what we are really going to have to ask the town at one point, and what we should be saving up to that point so that we can actually make it happen. You got to know we're finding money in amazing places and really scrutinizing everything. I feel, now I'm going to get upset. I feel that the directors before took terrible advantage of us. It'll never happen. So I guess I want you guys to find peace with that too, that, you know, we're not out to rip you off. We would never do, not in my lifetime, any of the things I've seen that have been done. I take it very personally because I've worked here so long. I love my library. I'm a taxpayer too. So I feel like I'm losing twice with my money. Yeah, I can make a promise that that won't happen again. So it's just whether or not you guys want to invest, you know, in us to help us feel like, you know, not that it's not worth our while, because it is, but, and you do support us, and we thank you so much. Honest to goodness, you know, praise goes a long way, but yeah, I guess we would like to be able to feel that we're worth it money-wise as far as hourly, and more would be great, but we're willing to take the $17.25. I feel terrible that Hope has to, that she's giving it up, and I'm very grateful that she is. It makes me feel good, you know? But,
All right. Thank you guys very much. Deb, thank you for that very impassioned argument. And also, Hope, thank you for the offering and the sacrifice that you're offering here of very important topics that I think all of us as a board definitely have like a deep desire to address and rectify. The first one, we can't do all those tonight, obviously. The one that we can do and that we can discuss now is just the very small tip of the iceberg that Deb and Hope have proposed, that they split the two wages equally. I remember that on that night that we appointed the interim director, things were very crazy, very hectic, very stressful, and there were oversights made that, again, I apologize for. I know personally how hard the two of you have worked, and you're right, it's pennies. If you actually put in all the time, I was just talking to Joy today, and Joy said she recognizes both your cars because you're always at the library. So we recognize it, and we're so thankful for it. So I'd like to put a motion on the floor for discussion that we accept this proposal. We take Deb and Hope's salaries, the average of the two, and then give both co-interim directors the $17.25 I would also like to suggest that we as a board write a letter that we can give to Hope, and the Hope you can take it to any future employer explaining the situation and what it is that you were willing to do and what that speaks about, your character. So the two things go hand in hand, the equalizing of the salaries along with the letter that we can give to Hope explaining the situation. So I open the motion up to discussion, or do I have to have a seconded first? Okay, do I have a second for that motion? Joy seconds. All right, so now I open the motion up for discussion. All right, then, oh,
If I might, I would encourage you to maybe amend the motion that it's only during the duration of, this is only effective for co-interim salaries, co-interim director salaries until such time as those positions change. And then at which time Debbie would return to her normal wages in her normal position.
okay, so
I mean, I don't think the intent of her in this position is to take her away from the position she's in. So you don't know who's going to be the next director. And so we don't know how that will play out. You'll do a search and you'll determine a director. And then depending on who it is, you would assume that then Debbie could go back to her position. And unless your intention was to maintain her salary at $17.25 an hour going forward, you're going to need to make that clear, because you'll need to find funding to do that. You have a pretty tight budget, and I think you're all aware that it's under scrutiny, and you don't really know exactly where you stand until you do the things that were talked about in the prior meeting. But that's off this topic.
okay, so
Can I ask a question?
a regrettable but probably prudent amendment. The chair recognizes Karen Ann.
Karen Ann Caldwell, Board Treasurer. Deb made a comment about a promise for a pay raise. Where did that promise come from? Who made it? Deb, please.
Oh, my internet says it's freezing, so let me know if you can't all hear. That was the previous director explained a number of things that would happen with the budget. That was one of them, was that salaries would be increased to a specific amount, which was a promise unfortunately made before the Board of Finance voted on the final budget. Karen Ann.
Okay, Karen Ann Caldwell, did he plan on paying for that out of an increased budget from the town? Or was he thinking that would come out of this wonderful grant that he was going to get from somewhere?
The original budget reflected a fairly significant increase over past years. It was my understanding that historically the library didn't ask for increases in the budget, and it was one that was explained to the board, and I think the majority of us agreed was something overdue in terms of appropriate salaries. And so to answer your question, it was something that was going to come out of the hoped for budget.
Instead of the cut us 3% budget. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Deb, I saw that you wanted to say something. Do you want to add it?
Just a couple of things. Again, there's a couple of scenarios that at some point, we could go over. I was thinking of Karen Ann. It was Kathy is making $11 an hour. Her recommended pay increase was going to go to $16.20. My current pay rate was $12. It was supposedly was asking for $18.50, kind of a thing. As far as going forward, do I want to go back to my old job? I don't think I'm going to ever give it up or get it. I'm not going to give it up. I would just do it all, Erica. And it's
No doubt, Deb, but not knowing who the new director would be, what I wouldn't want to have happen is that your job ever then become given to someone else while you take this position. And so when you were no longer the interim director and returned to your normal position, look, if they did a search and you happen to be the person they were chose, or you put your name in, that would obviously change things. But what I wouldn't want to see is this change the fact that either the board didn't plan a pay increase based on their budget, or something, your job were then filled with someone else at $12 an hour, and you lose that position. So making clear what the board's expectation was out of this division of funds now, and just clarifying that their motion is for the duration of Deb and Hope being co-interim directors. And once there's a new director hired, things I would think at that point would go back to normal based on your budget. That would take some serious looking into by this board.
And that's the thing too. You're right. I would and should. Not that I wouldn't love to do the directorship with Hope. And in doing that, we could still take on the responsibility of programming. That's something that Robbie used to do before I came on board. So it is a doable. And my thing is now, Hope, there is another contract that was drawn up with Hope. She did it only a week before taking on the assistant, and actually it's the assistant director that she is right now, or was when she was hired, because Clea didn't have the power to hire a director.
I've had 3 different contracts that I've signed, and have been different numbers, and they've just been decreasing. At first, Clea put me at, before I knew anything about this position or anything, it was at $28. That went down to the $22.50. Before that, there was one for like $12. So yeah,
So I guess what I'm saying, she should also have a job when a new director, if it's something that you guys don't choose for us to do. And I can tell you, there isn't a line item for it. Clea was not smart enough to figure all this stuff out ahead of time. Again, it's very obvious. I don't know how that could got through.
Yeah, that was written in the contract.
She would, there's a more of a mess than you even realize. Again, but something that we will have to address at some point when you do decide who you want to hire for director or not.
All right, thank you. The chair recognizes Karen Ann.
Karen Ann, treasurer, I have to deal with the numbers. Just thought you guys would like to know that the cost of what Deb just said for the pay raises for she and Kathy, depending on how many hours they work, at 35 hours a week, that's $22,000 a year extra. If they work 40, that's $25,000 extra. That's a lot of money for the board, the library to find. And it's not like I wouldn't love to give pay raises, and they're doing such a great job of finding mismanagement of money. If we can dig up money, it's a lot.
All right, thank you. All right, so any other comments? So to be clear, the motion is to equalize the pay between the current co-interim directors for the duration of their interim positions. And we give Hope a letter that she can submit to future employers explaining the conditions of this pay decrease. We have a second for that motion. So excellent, let's call it to a vote. All those in favor of all that stuff that I just said, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Sarah Jean, do you want to, we can't hear you. If you want to.
Aye. Aye. Can you hear me now?
Yep. Thank you. So that is unanimous. That's everybody here. Motion passes. Deb and Hope, you guys can take care of that with Amanda.
Do they need something in writing from you?
Harriet, we'll share with you a template from the town, maybe that you could utilize, similar to a hire letter that would put those terms in paper on paper from your board, and then you can put that in their employee files, and that should suffice what either one of them could use going forward.
Okay, excellent.
And then you give a copy of that letter to Amanda, and that will be her okay in writing to pay them at this new pay rate.
All right, and then I will submit a letter to the rest of the board for Hope, and we can find that and get that with her thing. Okay, so that is the only agenda item I make a motion to adjourn this meeting. Do I have a second? Joy seconds. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Have a good night, girls.